Here we go with triple play, pages 58 and 59 in your textbook. We are going to look at what are the 3 domains that organisms can be classified into. Whoops. So we have 3 domains. We have bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. So this is a nice little table that puts things into nice little rows and columns, and we will talk about examples of each one. So don't worry about copying down this table. We're going to start by talking about the bacteria domain. And so we've already talked about some bacteria in class already. We've talked about Escherichia coli, E. coli. We've talked about Staphylococcus aureus being on your skin. And you should recognize Streptococcus pyogenes, Streptococcus strep throat, pyro being fire. But there are many more bacteria that we don't hear about in our normal everyday lives. So let's take some look into the domain of bacteria. To see bacteria, you have to use a microscope. You have to magnify their cells to be able to see them. You can't see them with your naked eye. The E. coli that's on the screen is actually a highly magnified image. It's taken by a scanning electron microscope. So instead of light bouncing back, a computer captures electrons that are bouncing back off of the organism. And so E. coli is a gram-negative rod. You see the rod shape of the bacterium in here. And you usually get infected with E. coli. In several different ways, not washing your hands well enough after you go to the bathroom, contaminated food like salad or meat. It can cause you to have a really bad case of food poisoning. And then here's a scanning electron microscope, or SEM, micrograph of Staphylococcus aureus. Staphylococcus aureus is what's considered a cocci. It's a little round ball, and they tend to grow in grape-like clumps. And this is what's on your skin. It's part of being human. Everyone has Staphylococcus aureus on their skin. And then here to contrast that, here is Streptococcus pyogenes. Streptococcus meaning cocci meaning ball, strep meaning strip. And Streptococcus tends to grow in these chain-like or strip-like ways. So a key word here that you need to know, write down, burn into your memory bank, is what is a prokaryote. The difference between a prokaryote and eukaryote is going to be important to our studies from now until the end of the year. And so if you remember, we talked about breaking down science words into their prefix and suffix and root words. So if we look at prokaryote, pro means before, karyon means nut or kernel. And so in terms of cells, the nut or kernel refers to the nucleus. So these organisms came before the nucleus evolved. So pro, before, karyon, nucleus. Prokaryotes are very simple cells compared to eukaryotic cells. They're usually unicellular and lack a nucleus or other membrane-bound organelles. So a nucleus holds all the cell's genetic information. Most prokaryotic cells, their DNA is just floating in the cytoplasm or in little round clumps called plastids. Or membrane-bound organelles are things like mitochondria, which are organelles that are surrounded by a membrane that help protect it from the rest of the cell contents or being broken down. So here's a wide array of characteristics of a prokaryote. One thing that can make some bacteria very lethal or can make a lot of people sick is that they can make this little protein coat around them called a capsule, polysaccharide, that helps protect them from drying out and helps protect them against the immune system of anything that they invade. Eukaryotes, on the other hand, EU means true, well, or good. So eukaryotes have a true U nucleus. Eukaryotes come in many different forms. You have unicellular and multicellular. We are an example of a multicellular eukaryote. A paramecium would be an example of a unicellular eukaryote or euglena, amoeba. In the scanning electron micrograph that's on the screen, you have the comparison between an animal cell and a plant cell. We're going to learn more about the differences as the year goes on, but you should be able to see that the plant cell has a thicker outer wall, and you can see two distinct nucleuses in these pictures, along with other membrane-bound organelles. So this is a membrane-bound organelle. These little globulars in here are membrane-bound organelles, means they have a function and they have a membrane surrounding it and protecting it. Your first question in this section is an active reading, and they want you to underline the first mention of the three domains of life. The next question wants you to identify by filling in the blanks in the graphic organizer they have for you there. And then the last question wants you to take a little bit of time and compare what are the difference between bacteria and eukarya. So in the space provided there, one good thing you could do is divide it in half and title one side bacteria and the other side eukarya.